What is up, you guys? My name is Jazz. I am a Bachelor of Science educated registered nurse, and I work in a jail for children. So you could also call me a pediatric correctional nurse. Let's just hop right into it, y'all, because this is gonna be an interesting video. Okay, you guys, so in today's video, I'm gonna be covering kind of three main talking areas. First, I'm gonna briefly just go over what correctional nursing is for those of you who may not be all that familiar with it. Then I'm going to talk about how I kind of came to correctional nursing and why I specifically chose to go into pediatric correctional nursing. And then lastly, I'm just gonna kind of briefly share what my experience has been so far working as a pediatric correctional nurse. I started my job on August 27th of this year, and today is now December 28th. So it's now been August, September, October, November, December, just over 4 months that I've been working in my role as a correctional pediatric nurse, and I have honestly been loving it so far. So I'm just gonna kind of give you a little bit of my experience so far in this position. Okay, so starting off, what exactly is correctional nursing? If you've never heard of correctional nursing, or you're kind of not really sure what it is, basically, in general, correctional nursing involves taking care of patients who are incarcerated in one form or another. So when I think about correctional nursing, I kind of think of two main areas, which would be jail nurses and prison nurses. Those are kind of the big two subsets within the correctional system, at least how I look at it. And jails and prisons do seem to have a little bit of a different culture. So yeah, I kind of look at it as, in general, there's like correctional nursing, and then the two big areas within correctional nursing I think about is like jail nursing versus prison nursing. But overall, in general, correctional nursing just involves taking care of those patients that are incarcerated or locked up behind bars, whatever you want to call it. Now, myself personally, I am a jail nurse. I work in a juvenile detention center, so basically a jail for children. Now, correctional nursing, I feel like, is not as widely talked about area and specialty of nursing, but when you think about it, our incarcerated population in America is ginormous. And so this is really a huge area where there's a need for a lot of nurses and other types of medical staff, because all of these people that are incarcerated, they all need medical care and attention. And these facilities have to provide that to these people. And so this is really kind of a huge, I feel like, untapped area of nursing that not a lot of people really know about, or we're not really taught a lot about it in nursing school. And I feel like not everyone really knows a correctional nurse. Like, before I got into correctional nursing, I met someone at my old job who worked as a correctional nurse, and that was kind of how I had like a personal connection into the field. But other than that, like, throughout my time in school, I had never met anyone who was a correctional nurse. Never heard any stories in nursing school about anyone who was a correctional nurse or anything like that. And I never got to do any public health clinicals or visits into a jail or a prison to see what correctional nursing is like in a clinical experience, or while being a student, how we get to see into a lot of different areas of nursing when you're in school. And so I feel like it's really kind of this gem of an area. And don't get me wrong, not everyone can be a correctional nurse. I definitely feel like, just like any area of nursing, you kind of have to fit into it, and either you kind of fit or you don't, but you don't really know until you try. And so I'm so glad that I did decide to kind of go a little bit out of my comfort zone and try something different, because I truly feel like I am a great fit for correctional nursing, specifically I think pediatric correctional nursing. And so I've been loving my position so far. Okay, so now that I've kind of explained a little bit about what correctional nursing is, I'm gonna explain how I kind of got into it. Because like I said, I feel like not a lot of people know a correctional nurse, and so it can be kind of interesting to hear how people's path into that subspecialty area was. Especially me, because I think being a correctional nurse in and of itself is kind of unique, but my case is even more unique in the fact that I work in a pediatric facility. And so when I was researching and looking on YouTube, there aren't a lot of videos that really talk about correctional nursing in general, but I couldn't find like one single video about being a pediatric correctional nurse. So this is really kind of a subspecialty within this subspecialty of correctional nursing in general that I think is a really cool area, and I just want to share about it because I honestly really love my job, and I feel like this is an area where a lot of other people would love to try and would really fit in well. Okay, so in general, as a nursing student, I have kind of always been more of like the holistic health leaning, public health, prevention versus like treating problems after they happen type of a person. I just think it makes more sense to prevent problems before they happen. Obviously in America, our healthcare industry profits off people being sick, and so they don't want to prevent things. They just want to get you sick and treat you after that happens. But myself personally, as an individual within the greater healthcare system, I believe a lot more in public health, community health, prevention. And so I've kind of always liked more non-traditional areas of nursing versus like the traditional hospital nursing that a lot of us probably think of when we think of a nurse. And so very quickly when I was going through nursing school, I kind of realized that I probably never wanted to work in a hospital once I graduated from nursing school. And so far, I never have worked in a hospital, and I still don't ever plan to work in a hospital. So from a very early on time in nursing school, I kind of realized that I probably didn't want to go a traditional hospital nursing job route. And so I've kind of just always been open to non-traditional nursing roles such as like home health, school nursing, and even correctional nursing. Like correctional nursing was something that was kind of on my radar a little bit as just something in the back of my mind that's kind of, in the public health, community health realm of nursing. So once I graduated from nursing school and began my first nursing job was also kind of a public health role. I was contracted with the public school district, and I worked in COVID testing labs. And at that first job of mine, I had a coworker who worked as a PRN, LPN at one of the jails out here. And that's another thing that I think is really cool about correctional nursing. I will just mention really quick, at least for my company, what I've noticed is there are a ton of roles for LPNs as well as RNs in the correctional area of nursing, which if you're an LPN, that's great because I know that sometimes it's harder to find roles for LPNs in different specialty areas. And so correctional nursing is one area that LPNs can really kind of like tap into and find a lot of good opportunities. So just a side note on that. But anyways, so I had met a nurse that she was an LPN. She had a PRN job at one of the jails. And so she kind of was like telling me about it a little bit. And she was explaining to me that she thought I would be a very good fit as a registered nurse in a correctional role. And so after she told me that, then correctional nursing was just kind of moved up a little bit in my mental radar of like, oh, something that maybe I could try to do. So then that first nursing job that I had was a contracted job. So eventually that role just kind of ended. And after that role ended, I did take about 3 or so months off from working before I decided to start applying to jobs again. And when I decided to start applying to jobs again, correctional nursing was just still something that was kind of on my radar. And so I just looked up my specific company that I now work for. I just went on the website and looked at open positions near me. One thing that was really helpful was that my old coworker, there's kind of like two main companies that staff the nurses in the facilities out where I live. And so she was telling me like which company was better to work for. And so that really helped me out because then that's the company I now work for. And so I just went specifically to my company's website and looked up open positions, and I saw that there was a full-time night registered nurse position for my job, which, like I mentioned, is a nurse in a children's jail. And the schedule was like the perfect days that I wanted, and it just seemed like a really good opportunity. And so I just like immediately applied for the role. On top of that, in general, I've always really liked working with kids. Like, I truly do love working with kids. I love babies, I love toddlers, and I love kids of like all ages, from elementary, like kindergarten, up to teenage, adolescent age. Like, I really just love kind of the whole span of pediatrics and kids and working with kids. And so I also just kind of felt like working in a pediatric facility would be a better fit for me. I also, going into it, not gonna lie, it was kind of intimidating to me a little bit to apply for a correctional nursing job. And so in my mind, I also kind of figured, I think it would be easier for me to like win over kids and get along with kids and younger people first in that type of a setting, where I think, you know, this is me just having internal bias, but this is me also just being honest. I think I was a little less intimidated by children in jail versus adults in jail. And so to me, it kind of seemed also like a little bit of a safer route to start in correctional nursing. Like, oh, they're kids, like it can't be that bad type of a thing. But let me just tell you something. Kids can be just as manipulative, they can be just as much of liars, and they can do just as much of crazy things as adults can do. So I'm just gonna put that out there in general. I feel like when you go into correctional nursing, you're gonna come across situations that are kind of bizarre, but these are all still just people. Like, at the end of the day, they're just people. Granted, they are in a unique situation, but at the end of the day, they're people. And so you realize that they're not really that much different than patients anywhere else. Okay, so now lastly, I'm just gonna touch a little bit on what my experience working in my role has been so far. I'm not gonna go too much into detail because, like I said, this is an area that is very interesting to me and I want to share more about it. So I'm going to be making tons more videos about being a correctional nurse. So I don't want to talk too much about it in this video. I just kind of wanted to give an introduction. Once I applied, it was a very quick hiring process for me. As you can imagine, still everywhere in the world is short-staffed, but especially in nursing. Like, nursing is always short-staffed. People always need nurses. And so especially in an area like this, where it's kind of, like I said, a less tapped into area of nursing, it seems like, they were ready for me to start working. My boss actually was working my shift and my position before I was hired, but she got promoted to be the health service administrator, which is basically like the head of our whole medical unit for our facility. So she was working my shift as a floor nurse and then got promoted to be our HSA. And so she was kind of working like both roles at the same time while she was trying to fill my position that she was stepping out of. So as soon as I applied, she was ready for me to start working. So the way it kind of worked, I first had like a phone screening type of interview with a recruiter who doesn't actually work at my facility at all, and she just asked me kind of like general interview questions. So then after that phone screening, then I was scheduled for an interview with one of my bosses who doesn't actually like work at my facility day to day either. She's kind of more like a regional type of a manager. So I had a Zoom interview then with her. My interview went well, and so then I got scheduled to go do a facility / site tour. So one thing I really like about my company, and I hope all companies do this, but one thing I really like about my company is that they have you actually go into the facility that you're applying to and kind of just get a tour of the facility so that you can like actually step into the environment, see what it's like, and feel like, you know, like it makes a difference when you actually go somewhere and are walking around in that environment and you can see the people and interact with people and just feel the energy of that place. It makes a big difference. And so then I got in for a site tour. When I went for my site tour, I immediately felt like, yes, I think this is the right fit for me. Like, I think this is where I'm supposed to be. And so ever since then, when I went to the site tour, I was just so incredibly excited, and she like processed all of my stuff as quickly as she could, and I started like that weekend. It was a super quick process. I can't remember the exact dates, but I think it was less, like around 2 to 3 weeks time between the day I put in my application and my first day of on the job training, 12 hours overnight. So needless to say, she was ready for me to work, and I was really ready to start working too. So I actually appreciated it being such a quick process, because like I said, I was not working before that, so I was just ready to get the ball rolling. Okay, and then in general, just my experience like working there so far, honestly, it has really been great for me so far. One of the biggest things that I appreciate so much about my job is that in this short 4 months, I feel like my confidence as a nurse has just grown astronomically. And the biggest reason being probably is because my last job, like I mentioned, I worked in a COVID testing lab. And so I didn't have to do a lot of critical thinking in my last role. It was a very routine job where I kind of just had like procedures I had to follow and go through. And so this job was very different in the fact that I have a lot of autonomy at my job, especially being that I work in a children's jail. It is a smaller facility. And so I'm also a night nurse. And so at my facility at night, I actually work as the only nurse on campus for my whole facility. And just in general, I'm the only medical staff on campus. So if anything happens, like everyone is calling me. And so my job gives me a lot of autonomy because I have to kind of just decide everything. We do have on-call providers that we can reach out to, but just like any other position, like you don't want to call your on-call provider unless it's something you really need to call them for. And so you really get to use I get to use a lot of nursing judgment and autonomy in my role. And so that's really helped me to kind of step into my confidence and just be more proud and sure of myself as a nurse, because I just had to kind of learn the ropes and figure it out and get it done. You know what I mean? So my facility, I did mention, is a smaller facility. So we cap out right around right over 200 kids I think we can hold at our facility. So I just say I have about 200 kids in my that I take care of at my facility every night. Now, keep in mind though, like I said, this is it's a more public health, community health role. So that doesn't mean that every single night you talk to all 200 kids. It's kind of like being a school nurse. Like you're the nurse for all of them, but not all of them even ever need you. Like there's some kids that might end up incarcerated in my facility, and the whole time I'm there, I never once interact with them because I wasn't the nurse who did their intake when they came in, and they don't take any medications, and so I don't go to pass meds to them, and they never submit any sick calls to me, and so I never talk to them for any health problems at all. So it's possible that I could have a patient that's technically one of my patients, but I've never interacted with them or talked to them or learned their name. But on the other hand, there are a lot of patients that I know a lot of my patients in that facility. And just like in other areas, like how hospitals will joke about frequent flyers, we've got some frequent flyers in our facility, kids that come back a lot. And so you really kind of start to get to know the kids pretty well, especially the kids that you have to pass meds to. And so you see them every single day and talk to them every day that you're at work. And so there are a lot of kids that are on meds at my facility. And so there is a large chunk of kids that I know them by name. I know them pretty well. And then just on top of that, you start to learn other kids through doing sick calls. And like I said, when you're doing intakes for kids, you learn them that way as well. A big part of my job that I do really like is building those relationships with the children. And I like that in a community health setting like that, it is a longer continuity of care versus being in the hospital where you might have a patient that's there for your 3-day run, and then the next week you come back, you have all new patients. Every week when I go back, I get to see a lot of my same kids. And so I kind of say, like, I have a daughter of my own, and so I say I have one of my own biological children, and I have like hundreds of honorary children at this point, just from this city that I take care of, and I really truly care about them. And I do look forward to actually getting to see them and talk to them and check in with them and see how they're doing after I've been gone on my weekend off. So that's a big part of what my job is kind of just being a positive role model for these kids and getting to build relationships with them and interact with them and just be someone in their life who genuinely cares about them. On top of that, another big part of my job is building relationships with the other staff. So as a medical staff in my facility, I'm kind of a minority. Our medical unit is, it's kind of a small unit within our facility. And then there's all these other staff that help to take care of everything else in the facility besides everything medical. And so that's another big part of my job, is just getting to know the unit staff that are with the kids all the time, and the booking staff, who are the first people that these kids come in and see other than me when they come to jail. And I really feel at my facility like it's like a big family between myself, the other medical staff, the other non-medical staff of the facility, and the children as well. And so even though when I think about jails and prisons in general, I don't view them as a positive place. I kind of view them the opposite, as like a negative place and a place that people don't really want to go. But when I go to work every day, I actually, for the most part, feel genuinely positive. I am in a good mood. I am relatively happy to be there. Like, do I want to work? No, nobody wants to have to work. But when I actually go to my job, like, I'm pretty happy to be there. I like the interactions I have with people for the most part. Don't get me wrong. Of course, there's, the little snippy kids that get on your nerves every once in a while. But for the most part, like, my kids love me, you guys. Like, and I know they do, because every single day, it does not go without fail, at least once a day, a kid or a staff will tell me that I'm their favorite nurse, and they love when I'm there to take care of them because I'm their favorite nurse. And so it does make me feel really good, because I feel like I've started to really bond and build connections with a lot of these kids. And it does make you feel good when, all these kids are telling you, like, Nurse Jazz, you're the best nurse here. Like, we love you, da 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 da. Because let me tell you something. Teenagers are the hardest people in the world to impress. And that's the majority of, like, the ages that I work with, right? Like, I say I'm a pediatric nurse, but it only goes down so far. So the majority of my kids are about 12 years old to about 17 years old. So that age right there, 12 to 17, we all know you're not impressing them, okay? And especially the girls. Teenage girls are the hardest people in this world to impress. And so when I go into my girls unit and I hear my girls yelling out, "Hey, Nurse Jazz," every day I walk in and my girls are like, "Hey, Nurse Jazz," and they're excited to see me. And that makes me so happy. Like, it really does warm my heart. And so I have been just loving my position so far, because I think what makes the difference is they can tell I care. Like, they just know that I care about them and I want to be there and I want to help them. And that shines through. It shows through your energy. And so I've just been accepted at my facility with warm, open, loving arms from all these kids. And I think a lot of people would just in their mind think, like, kids in jail, they're probably all these brats and da-da. And don't get me wrong, sometimes my kids are brats. But, like, for the most part, I get along with my kids really well. They get along with me. They love me. I love them. And I genuinely enjoy my interactions with them at work. So I've had a great experience so far. That's kind of all I'm gonna talk about it right now. However, if you guys have any questions, please comment them all down below. I would love to put together a new video answering all those questions for you guys, as well as many other video ideas I have planned that I want to do anyways. So if there's anything you want to see specifically, let me know in the comments down below as well, and I will try to produce that content for you guys. I know that I've been on a bit of a break from YouTube, but I have missed YouTube so much. Like, YouTube is one of my passions and it will always be a passion of mine, but I was just kind of feeling burnt out from YouTube for a while, so I stepped away and kind of took a break. But I'm ready to jump back into it. My plan is to post a video every single Friday, so stay tuned, you guys, because I'm back. And I'm not gonna say I'm better, I'm just gonna say I'm back. We're here and I'm ready, and I'm so excited to share this new journey as well as other life journeys with you guys. Lots of stuff has been going on with life, so I'm just excited to keep sharing with you guys and walking along this journey with you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps me out, and I want to spread more awareness about this area of nursing. So help me to help other people find this video and learn more about this area, because it's an area that we need a lot more great nurses in, and there's a lot of great people that I know could fit well into this field and really feel fulfilled by it like I currently do. So go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel to come back and hang out with me more. Like I said, you guys, I am back and I am planning to be here every Friday with a new video. So stay tuned, you guys. We've got a lot of great stuff coming. Thank you all so much. I truly appreciate your support, and I can't wait to see you back again here soon. Bye, guys.